Well, we could all use a little bit of help with our grammar from time to time, but most of us are a little intimidated by the books that are out there right now. Most of them seem a little bit too big and, quite frankly, a little bit too boring. But that's not the case with this new book, 37 Things to Know About Grammar. A very interesting take on grammar that makes grammar fun for once. And joining me now is the author of the book, Matteson Claus, and she's here to tell me about how exactly we can make grammar fun. Now, Mattison, what was your background? What's your background on this, and what gave you the inspiration for this book? Because it is quite an entertaining read, and you learned a lot of great information too. So what was your inspiration behind it, and what's your background?
Well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. That's the whole point. People make grammar this like whole recipe in medieval torture. It doesn't need to be that way. Language should be fun. I've been teaching and tutoring since college, so a really long time. And I'm finding like the more we text and the more we email and the more we IM, the worse grammar is getting. And people think grammar, like when I tell them I wrote a grammar book, everybody looks like they just swallowed a Brussels sprout. It's like,
that's true.
And then they get quiet and they go, I really need that. Like,
it is something that's very useful, definitely.
But it shouldn't be painful, right? It should be fun. So if you got to learn grammar, you might as well have a good time while you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the interesting things I noticed about this book is you do say it's 37 things to know about grammar. You never really refer to them as grammar rules, even though that's what you're teaching in the book. You always, for each chapter, of course, the 37 chapters, but each chapter has a theme to it, and it's focusing on a thing, and you give lots of examples referring to this theme, and you use such themes as zombies and vampires and drunken pirates.
Yep.
But they're all different things, but in the process you learn some important rules about grammar. So what was the idea behind focusing on the things and not the grammar rules?
Well, the dirty little secret about grammar is that the rules are kind of wishy-washy. You know, it depends what style guide you're using, what teacher you have, all that kind of stuff. This book is part of a series of Good Things to Know books from Turner Publishing. So rather than trying to do like this tome that you would have to lug around, that this hideous grammar book, I just did the questions that come up the most often. I work professionally as a writer and an editor, and people basically ask me the same stuff all the time, or like I see the same mistake all the time. And that's what's in the book. It's the 37 most common things that people want to know.
So this is all from your experience, all the 37 subjects you picked from your own personal experiences with those questions that people came to you with.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, there's some really amazing full grammar resources that cover everything. I didn't feel a need to do that. Here's the thing, if I do this professionally as a living and I have to look stuff up all the time and it takes me 200 years to find that, you know, just a simple answer to a simple question like where does the stupid apostrophe go? It shouldn't be that painful. So quick, easy, most common, there you go.
Now, I found that this book was very contemporary. In fact, there's a whole chapter about texting language and how often we use texting language and all the abbreviations too much. And so you give examples on different words we can use instead of all the abbreviations we use with texting. How much time do you really spend focusing on making this a very contemporary book and making sure there are lots of relative, you know, examples that people can understand in this day and age? Well,
that's the #1 question, isn't it? That I get is like, why do I even bother to need grammar anymore? I text. Like the less words I use, the better, you know. But there's going to come a point where you have to turn a report in, you have to like try to get a job, and you don't want to look like a moron. So it's important that you have a tool there that'll help you and hopefully not make you want to barf while you're doing it. It would help if you could have a giggle and like actually enjoy yourself.
Now, this book is really a lot of fun to read, I must say, after reading just, I mean, a few of the chapters. I haven't read all of it yet, but I'm definitely motivated now. But one of the examples I liked is you have a chapter on run-on sentences and how run-on sentences are used a lot. And you use the metaphor that trying to cram too much into a sentence is like trying to cram too many people into a party. It starts off well, but by the end, it's a crowded, confused mess. I really like that one. Now, injecting this kind of humor into the book is your goal, hopefully, that using humor, you'll get people to remember these rules better and they'll stick with the rules, because that's the thing. I think most people just forget all these grammar rules because there's so many out there. But do you think by injecting humor, the grammar rules will stick with people better?
I hope so. I mean, and I hope that it makes it, rather than being afraid to look it up, you now actually will be willing to actually look at the rule, and you know, it'll make it stick, it'll make it more accessible, you'll actually understand it, and you'll get to laugh. because, you know, what's the point if you don't get a good giggle out of it?
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things you like to end your chapters with is a section you like to call Seriously People.
Oh, Lord.
And these seem to be all specific examples for things that people seem to like, things that annoy you specifically, related to the subject. So run-on sentences, an example of how when people use run-on sentences and what annoys you. And are these real examples of specific things that were annoying you in this section called Seriously People? Is that something that I imagine you said a couple of times before?
Oh, good. Yeah, a lot. I'm the idiot who like yells at the TV at night, to whom? Whom? I mean, it's bad. I'm such a geek. It's part of my charm. Yeah, I had an ex-boyfriend who liked to use drug as a verb. Drug is not a verb, it's a noun. Get over it. It was so painful. So that's in one of my But Seriously Peoples. I mean, it's all stuff like that, and sadly, they're all real. All of those, like, especially in the intro, I have a thing where I spent, I swear to you, 15 minutes trying to figure out this one sentence. It's in the introduction. And I finally realized that Genghis Cohen was supposed to be Genghis Khan. The conqueror was supposed to be the conqueror. Oh my God. And I was like, oh, sweetie. Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah, well, then definitely makes the book very entertaining too. Now, on a little more serious note, I mean, reading through this, it kind of was a slightly depressing because you realize there's so many mistakes, so many things we could mess up when we're writing things. There's so many mistakes people are making, and with the examples you provide, we see that yes, I think most of us encounter people who make these mistakes. So it seems like almost that our writing is going downhill as a society. Like we're not able to make complete sentences even anymore. Do you think that this is a trend that's going to continue where our writing is just going to kind of de-evolve? And if so, what can we do to improve it?
That's a really great question. The main thing to realize is the major difference between writing and speaking is that you can go back and look it over, and you should always edit your writing. Step away, go have a slice of pizza, come back, edit your writing. Take the extra time to do it. Don't rely on spell check. It is evil. It's a little bit helpful, but you know, a little bit. It's like putting your car on auto control. I mean, that's nice, but if you do cruise control and you just leave the car alone and don't look where you're going, you're gonna crash. If you just rely on spell check, you're doomed. So, you know, just edit, use your own brain beside the spell check, and you know, really take the extra time. That's what writing is for. I don't speak and write the same way. You know, I make tons of mistakes when I speak, but at least when I write, I have that little bit of extra time to go back and try to make it a little more polished.
Well, Mattison, thanks for your time. It's really a great book, a lot of interesting grammar rules in here, but you also make it fun too, which is the most important thing. So again, thanks for coming out. And again, the book is called 37 Things to Know About Grammar. It's available at Barnes & Noble, Borders, Amazon.com, and definitely worth your time. Coming up next, Good Morning Texas Sports. Don't go anywhere.